Well, hello there, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're safe and well. In this video we're going to be looking at LPVO scopes. Do you know what an LPVO scope is? No, neither did I. So let's find out together, and I'll be taking a look at a particular model of LPVO scope to see if it's any good on an airgun. So let's roll the titles. Well, it's nice to see you here back on the channel. If it's your first visit, then you're very welcome. So let me tell you what this video is all about then. A good few months ago, I received an email from a company called CVlife asking me to do a collaboration with them. And they sent me a list of products that they wanted me to collaborate on. And to be honest, at that time, I had a pretty sort of fixed schedule. A good idea of what videos that I wanted to make in the coming weeks, and so first off, I didn't really have time for a collaboration, and secondly, I didn't really see that the products that that they were highlighting would really fit within that schedule or fit on the channel. I sent them a polite reply, at least I hope it was polite, saying, you know, thanks very much, but at the moment I just sort of can't fit things in, and left things there. Then perhaps a month or so later, I got another email from them saying, you know, things have changed, we'd really like to work with you, you know, let us know. And again, I had to put them off. But you know, 10 out of 10 for persistence. They contacted me again just recently, saying, look, you know, what's the state of play now? We still want to do this collaboration. But the difference this time is they directed me to a couple of their products that weren't on the original list. And these were both what were listed as LPVO scopes, which raised my interest because I didn't know what an LPVO scope was. So I had a look, and with what I found out, I could see a bit of an angle for making a video that might be of interest to other air gunners. Because I asked a couple of my mates, oh, do you know what an LPVO scope is? And I just got blank looks. So I thought, well, I didn't know, they don't know. So I'm assuming that most air gunners don't know what they are. So it might make an interesting video. We look at what, you know, LPVO scopes are, and then look at an actual scope and see how it fares on an air gun. So basically that's what we're going to do. So the other day in the post, I got this nice little package, and this scope arrived. So this is their EagleTalon LPVO 1:6 by 24 scope, and as you can see, comes already fitted to a cantilever mount. So let's first have a closer look at what the scope looks like, shall we? Before we go any further then, let's take a look at what an LPVO scope actually is, and where they came from, and what it's used for. What is an LPVO scope? Well, LPVO stands for Low Power Variable Optic. Compared to a more traditional rifle scope, it has fairly low power magnification that's variable from the lowest to the highest setting. It's a scope that's designed to combine speed and downrange accuracy, providing both a short and long range solution to competition and defence. It refers to any rifle scope whose magnification starts at 1 times and goes up to a highest magnification of 4, 6, 8 times and sometimes 10 times. It's primarily used on AR and tactical carbine centerfire rifles, the sort of rifles that are used for close quarters battle, fast moving shooting and mid-range engagements. It's meant to have a greater versatility than the more traditional 1x red dot sight. A red dot sight is clearly better at close quarters, and a high power scope is better at precision shooting, but a low power variable optic scope can do both. Okay, well, that's a good starting point. I hope that explains things of you know, what this type of scope is meant for and where it comes from. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know of anybody that uses an LPVO scope on an airgun. Perhaps you do. But one of the things that you know, I was concerned about before that I agreed to do this was that you know, you can see this is designed for tactical rifles, primarily in the States. You know, shooting a minimum of say 100 yards. So you know, I know that these. You'll notice that this scope is a fixed focus scope. There's no adjustment on the objective. And there's no side focus knob. So I just assumed, like a lot of these scopes, that it would be a fixed focus at 100 yards. I mean, some of these scopes, you know, apparently you can pick up models that are fixed focus at 50 yards, but more often than not, it's going to be 100 yards. So bearing in mind that I'd be looking, or, you know, if you put it on an airgun here, sub 12 airgun, you'll be looking at using it from, say, 25 up to 50 yards. I was a bit concerned about the focus issues. So I got in touch with CVlife and made that point to them and said, look, you know, is it worth you sending this scope to me? Because, you know, I'm going to be using it 25 to, you know, 50 yards. And they reassured me that it would still maintain its focus, you know, and it will be good to go for that distance. So bearing that in mind, you know, I said, okay, then send it to me and I'll have a look. So the first thing that I did when this arrived is I wanted to look through it to see if what they said was true. So as soon as I unpacked it, it was packaged in like a polythene bag. Ripped the polythene bag off, and then it was up to the window, you know, sticking the scope up to my eye to look and see whether it was actually in focus. And I was absolutely astonished. You know, I mean, recently I've used a lot of different scopes. I've bought a lot of different scopes. Recently, you might have seen in my video where I compared sort of 6 scopes. So I'm quite used to looking through, you know, different glass and different reticles. So this, I was a bit astonished, to be honest, at the clarity. I mean, the reticle's pin sharp, and bearing in mind that it's only a 24mm objective, you know, so it's not picking up as much light as a 44mm objective. The picture is quite astonishing, and yeah, you know, I did sort of let out some expletives that I can't repeat here because it's a family show. So one of the things that I want to do is try and get across to you, hopefully, when I put this on the rifle, is that clarity and sharpness. So I'm going to do my best to take some video through the eyepiece to try and put that across, and hopefully I'll achieve that. So that's that then. Now, bearing in mind what we've seen about LPVO scopes, they're basically for like AR-15 type rifles, tactical rifles. Now, as you probably know, there's quite, you know, tactical style rifles in the UK, sub 12 air guns. Are quite popular at the moment. Most of the, I think it's fair to say, most of the new air guns that come out have a tactical look, and with that, they also have fitted, you know, Weaver Picatinny mount fit for their scopes rather than the traditional dovetail. So it's good that this one's got the Weaver Picatinny cantilever mount on it, because that's going to go straight on that. So it begs the question then, which rifle that am I going to put this one on? And as you can probably guess, because there's only one rifle that I've got that looks tactical, and that's the BRK Ghost. So this is going to go on my Ghost. I think it's going to look pretty good on the Ghost. So what we're going to do is I'm going to mount this on the Ghost, one thing that I need to do, even though it is pre-mounted on the mounts, one thing that it does say in the blurb here, which I think is quite good, is like, don't assume that just because it's pre-mounted that your reticle is going to be perfectly vertical and lined up. You need to check the alignment. So that's what I need to do on that. And so we'll put it on the rifle, and I'm quite keen to get it out on the range actually and start shooting with it. And we'll take a closer look at it and how this sort of mirrors the common features of an LPVO scope out on the range. So that's it for this segment, and we'll see you on the range. Here's the scope mounted on my BRK Ghost then, and I must say it does look the part. Pretty easy job to do because of the Picatinny mounts. You just have to undo the two nuts at the side and make sure that you put the scope far enough forward to get the eye relief that you need. So once I had the scope fitted, obviously I've gone ahead and zeroed it, and when I mounted the scope, the turrets were zeroed as they come in the box, and I've got to I assume that the scope has been optically zeroed. I didn't test it with the turrets, but anyway, mounted it up, got my eye alignment, took the first shot, and just made 2 more adjustments, and then the 4th shot was dead on where I wanted it, and I've ended up not far off where the turrets were to begin with actually. So the windage turret, I've gone 2, 4, 6, 7 clicks to the right, and the elevation turret just 3 clicks, 3 clicks down. So it wasn't far off from you know, as it come in the box. Now let me show you those shots on the target. Okay, just used an old target that I had a bit of space on that was in the shed. So that's the first shot up there. So I give it a little bit of right and a little bit of down, and I think that was the second shot. Was that the second shot? Yeah, one of these. That was like the second or third shot, and then the 4th shot smack bang on the middle. Now I did this with 6 times mag, which is a bit unusual because I'm used to shooting at 10, so it does look a little bit far away when you look through the scope. And I'm not used to using floating dot reticle, which is what this has got. I'll show you the reticle in a bit so you can see what I'm talking about. But that's not bad for 4 shots to get it on target. And then while this target was up, if I drop this down here, and we'll pan on here, I thought I would shoot these 4 targets. So first shot, second shot, third shot, 4th shot. So not bad. That's in a 20mm ring. So yeah, I mean that's looking good. So just got to get used to lining this dot up. I think if I'd have had targets with cross lines on there, then I could have been more accurate, because what I found is with these little tiny dots here, you're constantly moving the dot on the reticle backwards and forwards just to make sure that you're actually lined up with that dot underneath. So I guess it's just a question of experience for using the scope, really. Well, lovely day for a change, so I decided to do this outside rather than inside. Before we move on, zeroed the scope, so just going to show you how easy it is to change these scope caps. And 5p piece fits snugly in the slot. Unscrew that centre cap, take that off, and then without turning the turrets, which they shouldn't do because they're locked anyway, we can ease that off. Everything, you can see that, look how nice and chunky that is. Everything's quite sort of sturdily built on this scope. So we put that back over, line it up with the dot with the 0. And put the cap back in. that up. Did notice there's lots of O-rings in there, so obviously sort of keep it waterproof. Let's tie it up. Right, that's all secure, so now we can get our clicks and then click it back down. That's all on the zero. Right, I'm going to pause the video, do this side, and then we'll talk about the details of the scope. And we're back. So that's the turret's reset. You can see how simple that is. But to be honest, most turrets on scopes we've got a resettable feature on that, like that. Some of them is easier than others, but that's pretty functional. Right, you can see I've taken the scope caps off to sort of better show off the scope. Starting from the end, as you can see, 24mm objective. And we come back to this rather nice looking cantilever mount. 30mm tube on this, and then the turrets lift to adjust, and then let's make sure I'm back on my zero. Then when you're where you want to be, press down. Very positive click there, so you know they're definitely locked. Marked on the top for the direction of travel, up or down, and on the side there you can see left or right. And you'll notice as well, because this rifle is designed for long range shooting, I mean normally this rifle would be zeroed at say 100 yards or 200 yards. The click distance is going to be greater, so, for resetting the zero. So whereas on our airgun scopes we're normally used to having a quarter mower or quarter MOA, this has got half MOA. So instead of moving the reticle 1/16 of an inch per click, this is going to move it 1/8 of an inch per click, roughly thereabouts. So there's the turrets then. On this far side, I'll swing the rifle round in a second so you can see the far side. Moving back then, we've got the magnification wheel. It comes with this screw-on lever, which you need, to be honest, because this is quite stiff, which is a good thing. You don't want things moving on their own, so you need that lever on there to get a purchase on that to move, and that's graduated up from ×1, ×1.5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then to the maximum of 6. Moving back to the diopter then, they call this a fast focus. There's a little white dot just by the zero. Now this is how it came out the box, with that centered on that dot, and unusually for me that was perfect for my eyesight. I didn't have to adjust that, but nice firm movement, so that's firm enough so you don't have to worry about that moving if you knock it. Don't even really think that you need to I mean there's no locking ring, but I don't think you really even need to worry about taping that up. I don't think that's going to go anywhere. You've got to actually knock that or brush that quite hard to make that move. So there we go then. Just quickly switch the rifle round so you can see the illumination setting. Here we go. And that's this turret on the side here. You've got the battery compartment there that you can, slot your 5p in there to tighten that up. One thing that I will say, I've read this for other scopes as well. In order to get that battery to connect so that it actually switches on, you have to tighten that up quite tight. So if you put your battery in and you find your red dot's not coming on, it's because you haven't tightened that enough. And then you've got the can you hear that? Quite clunky clicks, and there's an off position between each brightness setting, so that you haven't got to go all the way round to get to off. So let's make sure we've got that, so it's back. There's a little white dot on the side here that lines up, so that's on 6, and we'll take it forward, so that's off. So that's the features of the scope then. Not forgetting the comes with the lens caps. So time to take a look at what it looks like through the scope then, I guess. Let's see what we can do with that. Right, let's have a look at the magnification levels then. So this is at 1x mag, and I'm going to move through all of the settings one by one. Ooh. So that's 1.5 mag, 2 mag, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, and that's at 25 yards range. What we do now, and that is with the red dot on. I don't know if that will show, if that shows up. I'm going to turn the red dot off and then turn it back on again, and that's at setting 6, which is the maximum intensity of the red dot. So that's off and that's on. So you can see pretty clear sight picture. I'm quite pleased that I actually got this scope cam thing to work. This scope has a BDC reticle then, but what is a BDC reticle? Well, BDC stands for bullet drop compensator. The reticle pattern predicts how much a bullet will drop at a given range. So if you have your rifle zeroed at, say, 200 yards, for example, the points beneath the crosshair tell you the bullet's impact at 300 yards, 400 yards, and so on. Moving the corresponding line to your distance over the target should give you a pretty accurate shot. Now, the BDC reticle may be set up with a centre crosshair, but in this case we have a floating dot that can be illuminated. The reticle provides what you need to engage a distant target without having to do any complex calculations on paper or in your head. This is why BDC reticles have been used where you need to get hits on targets very quickly. For this particular scope, CVlife, the manufacturer, provide the MOA drop figures for the reticle marks. I've done a rough conversion, and when zeroed at 25 yards, the holdover marks are approximately as follows. The 2.4 MOA mark is approximately equal to 0.7 mils, which should hit at about 38 yards, and the 5.6 MOA is approximately equal to 1.6 milliradians, which will hit at about 49 yards. You should note that there are no hold under references on this reticle, so the scope needs to be zeroed at a range relevant to the top of the trajectory of your rifle. Right, I just thought I'd have a go at this I've got my biathlon target while I've got the scope cam, side scope cam fitted, since as it took so long to set up, and try and get a bit of through the scope shooting footage. So I've got the red dot switched off at the moment. I'm using the single shot loader because I just tested the magazines on this rifle, and they're just not as accurate as the single shot loader. I'll show you the results after. Now the targets on this biathlon target, I think they start around sort of like 20 mil and they go down. The smallest one I think is 8mm. I'm shooting at 25 yards. And the last one then, there we go. Right, these are those results I mentioned just from testing the mags. I've got 2 mags for the Ghost. That's 1 mag, that's the 2nd mag, and that's a single shot loader. I mean, despite this flyer here, you can see clearly single shot loaders are much more accurate group. This mag definitely better than this one. So what I've done is I've numbered them with spots, so I know which one's which now, so I can use this one if I have to use a mag. So interesting that. So I guess one of the advantages of this type of sight is rapid engagement at targets. So thought we'd have a go and see if we can see how quickly we can utilise the red dot for taking out targets. So I've got some spinners and resettables down in the backstop, and we're going to do a bit of speed shooting, see how quickly we can sort the targets out. And we're out. So one of the things that I haven't considered with this scope then is it usable for HFT? So what we'll do is look at through the scope at the extremes. So I've put a 20mm target, kill zone target out at 8 yards, and we'll have a look at it through the scope and try and work out from the reticle where we're going to shoot it. Now, from when I discussed the reticle before, the second mark down I worked out at roughly about 49 yards. Now I know that normally the 8-yard aim point is quite similar to the 45-yard one. So if we use that second mark, the 5.6 MOA mark on the reticle, and stick that somewhere in the kill zone, then it should put this down. We'll try it. Might work, might not. But got to tilt the gun up quite a bit to get on this target. So as you can see, the focus is still a bit out of focus, so it's still got potential for range finding. But it's not that bad that you can't see the kill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that second mark just inside. Oh, that was way low. That was very low. What I forgot at this point is that on the Ghost, the scope sits very high above the barrel, which means in practice that the holdover required to hit the closer shots is much bigger than normal. I'll try that again. I'll probably be able to see where that went and make an adjustment. Yeah, so that was the fourth mark, near enough there. So if I put the fourth mark in the top, there you go. So once you work out your holdovers with those marks, then I guess it's doable. We'll try at 45 yards now and see how we get on at 45 yards. So I've repositioned the spec to 45 yards. I've set out 35mm diameter kill zone at 45 yards. And we're going to address that target, see how we get on. Now, looking through the scope, the target actually looked a lot bigger than I expected, probably because we were just shooting tiny little targets at 25 yards, and that's quite a bigger target. So let's have a go and see how we get on. So I know from shooting at 8 yards there was quite a bit of a drop, so I'm not expecting as much of a drop here. So what I'm going to try is I'm going to try that first mark on the reticle in the centre of the target, and we'll give that a go and see what happens. Well, there you go, that worked. I'll tell you what we'll try. See if we can hit that, see what else we can hit. Try and work out where the pellets are going at 45 yards and see how we get on. Just try that resettable rabbit. That's a 25mm kill. Well, we've got that okay. So let's try the 10mm. Try the 10mm spinner, shall we? See how we get on with that. Oh, we nicked it. Give it one more go. See if I can work out whereabouts we nicked it. Oh, probably a little bit low. So if I put that right at the top. No, that was too high. I need to come down a bit. See where the pellets are going. There we go. 10mm spinner, 45 yards. What are we? 6 times magnification. LPVO scope. Does the job. Okay then, let's wrap this up, shall we? So we've learnt about what an LPVO scope is. You know, it's funny, it doesn't take you long, you know, something like airgunning or ever any other interest, you get a little bit set in your ways, and you know, your focus narrows on, you know, particular areas, and you neglect what's going on outside and miss opportunities. And I think this is probably the case with this. I mean, clearly, from what I've seen from this scope, hopefully you have as well, that there is a place for LPVO scopes in airgunning for particular aspects of shooting air rifles anyway. And so certainly something worth looking at. So let's go through the particulars of this scope then. I mean, some of these things, probably some of these pros and cons are going to be relevant to you know, the whole area of LPVO, but I want to address this scope in particular. So starting with the cons then, I mean, I'm as usual, I'm being picky here. You know, I've got to find a few, you know, to balance things out, you have to try and find a few minuses of things that you're not keen on or whatever. But, you know, I'm really being picky. So the first thing is, you know, you definitely need this. This is a good job that they supply the throw lever in the box, because you definitely need it with this magnification. I mean, it is very stiff. I mean, who knows, with the passage of time, it might loosen up, but that is stiff. If you're going to stick to one magnification, then that's probably not an issue. If you're going to want to change your magnification quickly, then that might be an issue. But say, you know, I'm being picky. Red dot brightness. I found that I needed to have the red dot set on the brightest setting, 6. I mean, it was peculiar. Great British weather, isn't it? You know, usually it's not pretty reliable. And then when I go and, you know, the days that I picked to go outside and test this scope, you know, it was bright sunshine and quite warm. So it wasn't a typical British day. But I did find that in bright light, you know, you need it on 6. You wouldn't be able to see it on setting 1. But I guess, you know, that doesn't matter. As long as there's a setting that you can use, that's the main thing. This scope is definitely not a target shooting scope. The center dot, if you're shooting at any distance, the center dot is that big that it's going to basically obliterate your target shooting targets. This is, when I say target shooting targets, I mean, you know, traditional targets, you know, like bench rest targets, the circular ringed targets with different values on different rings. Yeah, this scope, this scope is really not meant for that. So that's one thing. And the final thing on this, with the reticle, you have got limited aim points on it. You've just got those 4 marks that are predetermined for, you know, for the 100-yard range points. So that's a limiting factor. There's no marks on the reticle for windage, and there's no marks on the reticle for hold unders. So with this, you know, you can only really use them for hold overs, and then sort of judge sort of half distances, perhaps quarter distances between them. So that's another con. Okay, so that's that's all the negatives I can find. Let's think about the pros now. Right. First off, you've got a 2-in-1 here. You've got a red dot sight, and you've got a scope, so you get the best of both worlds. So if you're plinking, then you know, you're just sort of shooting at spinners and tin cans and stuff. The red dot's all you need. You don't need anything fancy. You just point that red dot and the pellet goes where the red dot is, assuming that you've set your scope up properly, of course. So that's the first one. Second one is, you know, because of the way that it's set up, you can shoot with both eyes open really easily. So, oh, my video light's just gone out. Don't worry, that's what the flash is. We'll carry on. So I know some people have a difficulty shooting with their, you know, their left or the right eye closed, whichever one, you know, whichever one is your non-dominant eye. But with this, you can quite easily shoot this with both eyes open. So that's quite good. It's great for kids. You know, I've found that sometimes small children, especially when you're trying to explain to them the reticle and where they should sight things, you know, it's very difficult sometimes explaining to kids when you're not looking through the scope and seeing the same thing that they are. But with this, you know, it's basically just point that dot at what you want to shoot at, and you'll probably hit it. So if you're shooting with kids, this would be ideal. Yeah. And, you know, on the basis of that, it's just such an easy scope to use. I mean, you know, you've got one less thing to worry about. I'm pretty amazed that this is in focus for all the ranges that it is. You know, I really didn't expect that that this would cope with the shorter range airgun stuff, and it did it admirably. So you haven't got to muck around with the focus. Once your turrets are set up, you know, preset your red dot illumination. Basically, you don't have to touch anything. It's just there and it works. Got to mention the clarity. I don't know what glass is in this, but considering the size of the objective, well, you've seen through, you know, I mean, I've done my best to sort of give you that impression with the through scope videos that I put on this video. You can see how clear it is, and that is going through an extra lens for, you know, recording my side cam. You know, you can only imagine how much clearer it is to, you know, to the naked eye when you look for it. It really is remarkable. So, you know, it's great from that point of view. And the last one on there, I've mentioned no focus. You know, you don't have to muck around with your focus. It's all preset. So overall, though, you know, as soon as you take the scope out of the box, it just feels very tactile, and, you know, it feels like quality, feels like it's well built and it's solid. So I'm very impressed with it. So yeah, I would, you know, I'm going to keep this and on this rifle, and then fortunately, because it's got the Picatinny mounts, I can switch between this and my day-night scope for when I want to go hunting. But for general use with the Ghost, I'm you know, my normal plinking. You could even, you know, I don't think there'd be any problems using this for on an HFT course. I think that would work quite well. So yeah. So before we finish up, then the nice people at CVlife have sent me a discount code. I'll put the code on the screen. It's 10% discount site-wide on all the products on their site. As well as scopes, they do other things like red dots and bipods and things like that. So go and check the site out, and if you find anything you fancy, then you get a 10% discount, and I'll stick the links in the description as well. So that's the end of this video then. Hope you found that interesting. I mean, I say now you know what an LPVO scope is anyway, so we've both learned something as a result of this video. Don't forget, if you want to see more videos, you know what to do. Like and subscribe, and also hit the bell so that you get notified of new videos. And hopefully I'll see you back on the next one. So bye for now.